Trusting Luffy's judgment. Episode 146. Jaya Arc. Mock Town, a place that laughed at dreams, that mocked ambition. Luffy and Zoro walked into that town and left humiliated, beaten and laughed at by Bellamy's crew. No one would have blamed Zoro for retaliating. He lived for combat. He knew how to handle disrespect. But when Luffy refused to fight, Zoro stayed silent. No argument, no protest. He sheathed his swords, walked away, and endured the laughter. This wasn't weakness, it was discipline. Loyalty in its purest form. Zoro could have fought and won, but loyalty meant restraint, trusting his captain's judgment, even when it made no sense to him. It was a quiet moment. No swords were drawn, no battles were won, but it proved something bigger. Zoro didn't follow Luffy because he was always right. He followed him because he believed in his dream. And sometimes, loyalty means walking away from a fight because the bigger fight is still ahead. Vowing to never lose again. Episode 24. Barity Arc. He stood in the ruins of his pride, bleeding, broken, and barely conscious. Roronoa Zoro had just faced the world's greatest swordsman, Dracu Mihawk, and lost. But in that moment of utter defeat, he didn't cry out in pain, he turned to his captain. With blood dripping from his wounds, Zoro faced Luffy and declared, "I will never lose again." It wasn't just a vow to himself, it was a promise to his captain, a contract written in blood and honor. Zoro's goal had always been to become the world's greatest swordsman. But now, his ambition was tied to something bigger, Luffy's dream, the Pirate King's journey. Zoro understood what it meant to follow someone, to believe in someone so much that their dreams become your duty. Even after Mihawk walked away, Zoro didn't collapse for himself. He collapsed knowing he had to get stronger to protect the man he chose to follow. The moment cemented something permanent. Zoro wasn't just chasing strength, he was pledging loyalty, not with words, but with sacrifice, and that loyalty would only grow sharper with every scar. Defeating Daz Bones. Episode 119. Alabasta Arc. Alabasta was burning. The kingdom was in chaos. Crocodile's plan was unfolding fast, and the Straw Hats had no time to waste. Zoro was tasked with stopping Mr. One, Daz Bones, a man made entirely of steel. A swordsman with no sword could never win, but Zoro wasn't just a swordsman. He was the first mate of the future Pirate King. He fought through broken ribs, slashes, and exhaustion. He knew that if he failed here, Luffy's path to Crocodile would be blocked. Every swing of his blade wasn't just for victory, it was for Luffy, for the crew. And then he unlocked it. The breath of all things, the ability to cut steel. With one final strike, he split through Daz Bones, shattering the impossible. Zoro didn't grow stronger that day for personal glory. He grew so he'd never be a burden to the man he followed. While Luffy was underground fighting Crocodile, Zoro was above, clearing the path, silently, loyally, doing what had to be done, because loyalty for Zoro meant shouldering the weight no one else would carry. Teamwork against the tidal wave. Episode 257, Enies Lobby Arc. The sea rose up like a wall. A massive tidal wave came crashing toward the Going Merry. The Straw Hats were out of options. There was no time to turn, no time to flee, and in that moment, Zoro didn't hesitate. He stood beside Luffy. No words, no plan, just trust. Together they unleashed a combined attack, cutting through the wave itself. It was a moment of instinct. But more than that, it was unity. Zoro didn't care about spotlight or strategy. He moved in sync with Luffy, because that's what loyalty looked like in battle. He had one role, protect the crew, stand beside his captain. And even when the sea itself tried to wipe them out, Zoro stood firm. This wasn't just strength, it was faith. In the middle of chaos, Zoro didn't think. He trusted. And when you trust someone that deeply, even the sea can be split. Upholding Luffy's authority. Episode 323. Enies Lobby Arc. After the chaos at Enies Lobby, the Straw Hats prepared to depart Water 7. Usopp wants to return, casually, without acknowledging his dramatic exit from the crew. But Zoro doesn't let that slide. In episode 323, Zoro draws a hard line. He confronts Luffy, stating that Usopp's return without a formal apology would undermine the captain's authority. He isn't cold out of ego, he's protecting the chain of command. Zoro warns if Luffy lets it go, he'll be the one walking away. That wasn't a threat, it was principle. In flashbacks, we see Zoro's private frustration with Luffy's indecision. Usopp's insubordination can't be forgiven. Zoro's message is simple. A crew without respect falls apart. Eventually, Usopp offers a heartfelt apology. Only then does Zoro accept him back. This moment reaffirms Zoro's role, not just as a swordsman, but as an enforcer of order within the crew. He doesn't follow blindly, he holds the line when others can't. Taking Luffy's Pain, Episode 377, Thriller Bark Arc. On Thriller Bark, Bartholomew Kuma arrives with orders to eliminate the Straw Hats. The crew is broken, Luffy unconscious. Kuma offers a deal. Spare them if someone take Luffy's pain. Zoro doesn't hesitate. In Episode 377, Zoro steps forward. Kuma warns that the pain is still lethal. Still, Zoro accepts. He enters a bubble of agony. Luffy's injuries, stress, exhaustion, all compressed and transferred into his own body. Sanji finds him later, standing blood-soaked in the aftermath. He asks what happened. Zoro says only 2 words.
What happened here? Nothing at all.
No boasting, no cries for help, just silence. Zoro endures alone. The price he pays never becomes a burden on his captain or his crew. This wasn't for pride or for glory, it was for pure loyalty, delivered in silence. Training under Mihawk, Episode 515, Post-War Arc. After the Paramount War, the Straw Hats were scattered. Luffy sends out a message. We'll meet in 2 years. Each crewmate chooses to train. Zoro goes the furthest. In Episode 515, we see it. Zoro stands before Dracula Mihawk, his greatest rival, and bows. He begs to be trained. Mihawk scoffs. For a swordsman, pride is everything, but Zoro doesn't flinch. He makes it clear, this isn't about personal gain. He wants to become stronger, not for himself, but for Luffy, for the crew. Mihawk recognizes it, not weakness, loyalty. For 2 years, Zoro learns from the man he once swore to defeat. Every day is a sacrifice of ego. Every scar is earned for one goal, so that next time, when the crew is in danger, he won't fail. Defeating Pika, Episode 719, Dressrosa Arc. The Dressrosa battlefield is chaotic. The Don Quixote family is tearing the island apart. Luffy's goal is Doflamingo, but one obstacle stands in the way. Pika, a towering menace with stolen powers. In Episode 719, Zoro steps up. Pika can merge with the terrain itself. He's massive, unpredictable, destructive, but Zoro doesn't blink. With calm precision, he studies Pika's movements, and then, mid-air, mid-combat, launches his ultimate technique. Blocking Kaido and Big Mom's attack, Episode 1025, Wano Arc. On the rooftop of Onigashima, the battle reaches mythic proportions. Luffy, Zoro, Law, Kid, and Killer face 2 Yonko, Kaido, and Big Mom, gods in a battlefield of men. In Episode 1025, the Emperors combine their strength for a devastating attack. Lightning, fire, pure chaos. It's meant to wipe them out. Zoro intercepts. He unsheaths his swords. Haki floods his body. He blocks the fuse attack, alone. Bones shatter. Flesh burns, but the attack is stopped. Zoro collapses moments later. He can't move, but the others are alive. Luffy can still fight. In that instance, Zoro doesn't care if he dies. If Luffy stands, the mission continues. That's all that matters. Scarring Kaido, Episode 1027, Wano Arc. A few episodes later, Zoro gets one more shot. Kaido, in his dragon form, mocks the worst generation. He's only been scarred once before, by Kazuki Oden. But in Episode 1027, Zoro challenges that legacy. With Enma in hand, he challenged everything he has into one slash. It connects. Kaido roars. Blood spills. Zoro collapsed, unconscious. But he bought time. He left a mark. Not just on Kaido's body, but on the battle itself. Luffy needed moments to gather strength. Zoro carved those seconds out with his sword. This wasn't victory, it was sacrifice, wrapped in steel.